Welcome back to Restos for yet another video on the L322. So, this video didn't start off as planned this way, but it's now changed to this, so yeah. Do you need to remove your subframe? I do. Well, actually I have, to be honest. Yeah, there could be many reasons why you need to remove it. To be fair, biggest issue I think on an L322 is rust. That's kind of why I've removed mine. So, I'm going to now show you roughly what's involved in removing a subframe. It's a fairly simple job. It's basically, well, pretty much exactly the same all the way from the 2002 up to 2012, no matter the engine. There's minor differences, but very, it's pretty self-explanatory, the differences, so let's crack on. So up in the air, wheels off, brakes off. Shouldn't need to tell you how to take brakes off, fairly simple, but if you do need to know, then they'll be on the brake video, which will be maybe the video after this one, I'm sure. Or before, one of the two. But brakes are off. Now, one thing I did forget to do is currently all my airbags are rock solid. That's not going to help me diagnose any suspension issues, and it's not going to help me take anything apart. So, we need to solve that. Obviously, the car's inflated them because it's gone, as I put it up on the lift a bit, obviously it was still, ignition was still on, it was still running actually when it's doing it, so it added a bit more air because of the extra height. So, using the gap ID. Obviously there's other ways of doing this. You could just physically drain them from the valves and whatnot, but we've got a computer to do it. Should be much easier. Well, I've never done it before. Let's try, what's the service test? Suspension. Deflate. Deflate all. There we go. Sure that under vehicle is clear to lower. Is. Yep. Look at that. Everything now should be deflating, the reservoir and all bags. That's pretty cool. Right, so now the daunting task of removing this rear subframe, this increasingly corroded rear subframe. So, what do we need to do? Obviously we've got air suspension, we've got electrics, we've got the parking brake module, all that kind of rubbish on it, the prop shaft. So, what do we need to do? Well, we need to disconnect all the electrics, so that's the ABS sensors. Someone's already kindly actually done the rear brake pad for me one, so don't need a warning sensor now, do we? So we need to disconnect all that, unclip it all from the top upper arms here. We need to disconnect, our height sensors, disconnect the wiring for the electronic parking brake module, which is back up, up in there, so you should be able to get to it from above. Disconnect that, drop the whole exhaust down obviously, so the back box would be held on with all the rubbers back there. Mine's obviously currently missing. And then from the front here, we're going to have to do on a 4.4 TDV8 anyway. I put new nuts and bolts on this flange the other day, so that's good. So disconnect it from there, disconnect it from the turbo up there, and then disconnect all the electronic plugs for the pressure sensors and temperature sensors. So we've got a temperature sensor plug back here, we got the pipe work for the pressure sensors here to disconnect, whatever end's easiest. We've got the temperature sensor connection there, we've got another one up here by the gearbox I think, another one there, and the one up the front there we don't need to worry about because I'll be leaving it in place. But you would also need to disconnect that if you take it off from the flexi up there, or just here. Just there, where is it again? Oh yeah, so sorry, you can leave that one in place because you've got the coupler there. Joys. Alright, so that's one of the next tasks, then remove the whole exhaust again. Oh, this is not becoming fun already. So, I'm going to drop the exhaust, I'm going to disconnect these plugs, air suspension wise. Up behind here, I think we got a valve block, I'm sure. Somewhere in there. Yeah, I think back there. So we need to disconnect our two air pipes that go across for our two airbags. So we can disconnect them from back here as well. That'll then be most of the things disconnected from the body. Obviously your brake hoses need to be unclipped from the upper arms here, but they can stay on the body and disconnect obviously from the caliper if you've still got the caliper in place. Mine are all gone because that's all being done. And then the one other thing we've got to deal with, which I'm not sure yet how, we'll find it out as the video progresses, But up in the boot, back in here, that little cable there is the emergency handbrake release. So, we need to disconnect that, but I'm not sure yet how we do that. Actually, it might just be a case here actually of just pushing that clip back in and then pushing it through to the wheel arch, is that? Quite possibly. Let's see. Fair, I might actually see that behind the arch liner up here somewhere, which I might investigate now. Quite possibly. So that's back in there somewhere. We'll investigate that. So the other thing obviously is to remove this arch liner to gain access to the valve block and potentially that cable as well. And then we can work out about dropping this subframe down. So I'm going to do that off camera now because it's going to be a bit of a pain. Probably going to be, yeah, a lot of frustration. Wouldn't be too bad if everything wasn't rotten. So I forgot to start recording, so I'm back again. What we can do here is, for a lot of the wire in here, we can disconnect these multi-plugs on both sides. Perfect. The valve block is up here, so we can disconnect the two airbags. One's this orange one, and to be fair, the other one's probably a green one, but we'll go check. Well, we want to be green or black, we'll see. See this cable here? Little four little spring clips. That's what goes into the boot there. So just go into the boot, pop it out, and that's that one, so we can remove that. Actually, to be fair, logically it might be this black one. It goes to the airbag because they're all in the same connector. So we can disconnect that there. I'm not going to bother unclipping my brake lines. One, because I can't really get to the nuts. They seem to be corroded. Typical. And I'm replacing them because look at the brake lines. That's no good. That's an issue. So I'm going to move my clamps up to here and I'm going to just cut them off. Ideally, obviously, you should remove them properly if they're in good condition. Mine are not, so I don't care anymore. So I'll cut them, remove these two wires. Actually, no, they can stay on because they're going to come out this multi-plug here. So that's perfect, don't need to remove any of that then. So I'll just free up a few more of these bits here. Again, that cable's already been unclipped here, which is the ABS sensor for this side. I actually best disconnect the battery again before I disconnect any more plugs here. But you can kind of see in here a bit. I've got all this like weird salt stuff on the bushes. It's got to have been salt that's done all this damage to this car, because it's a lot of corrosion on a lot of a car considering the age of it. To this extent anyway. So I'm going to keep on going and I'll update you when we're ready to start removing some mechanical parts. There we have it. Exhaust gone, middle heat shield with his 8mm screws gone. I thought my prop centre bearing needed a bit of work, and I can see rubber split. It's moving a fair bit there, so I need a new one of them. Joys. I've undone the E12 bolts for the prop, so that's now off. The more I look, the worse it gets. Not ideal. It's now off. I've put two stands under the rear wishbones to support them a bit, because now I want to undo the shocks. Done that. Everything above is disconnected, bar the fuel burning heater pump, which we'll gain a bit more access to in a minute and see what's going on. So I'm going to try and take a bit of this weight of this diff with this transmission jack-ish, although it's not balanced. And I'm going to start undoing, or trying to undo, all these very rusty bolts. Please come undone. And we'll see if this drops down. Never done this before. Let's see. Right, that's the shock absorber disconnected. That side after a lot of blow torching and getting angry with it. So 4 subframe bolts now and see what happens. What's going to happen? I have just cracked them off and they actually weren't tight, which is good. Or weren't seized. Let's go whole hog. Let's just undo it. What's the worst that could happen, eh? There's 1, So by my calculations, the subframe should now be unattached from the car, and maybe short of the fuel burning heater pump. Oh, yep. It's definitely going somewhere. Not the way I want it to go, but it's going somewhere. There we have it. One thing I found better access to afterwards was this loom here. It comes across the top and it goes to the parking brake module and the fuel burning heater pump. So once I got a bit of access to that, I was able to get that one off. This thing is crusty. Needs a good inspection. Oh, and the body as well. Joys, Land Rover life. So we need to get this to a better position. How am I going to do that? Ideally, I should have lowered it down onto something at a better level, and then, yeah, put it onto something that would then roll out. But we're here now anyway. Car can't go up much higher because of the roof. So, could get the engine crane in here, strap it up. And then lose these stands and I think pull it out that way. And there we have it. Subframe is out. So it is a fair faff. I definitely recommend a better way of dropping out the car. I'm going to work out a better way of getting it back in, because the way I've done it with the engine crane and the transmission jack wasn't great. So I think I'm going to be looking at maybe supporting it back on something higher up here, and then dropping the car down onto it would make a lot more sense and make it a lot easier. So simple as that. Obviously the only thing to be careful is to make sure you disconnect all the cables and all the lines. As you're dropping it down, obviously keep your eyes out, keep checking to make sure you drop everything, because you've got the clips that run across here for some of the cables to go to like the fuel burning heater and such, or the pump. You won't really be able to access them until you start dropping the subframe down. So be very mindful of that, don't rush it. The other thing to be mindful is don't damage your height sensors, so don't allow your suspension arms to drop too far. Probably the safest thing to do really would be to disconnect the link arms, and then you can't risk that. So yeah, as you can see, I've already started work on what I'm doing to this. Ideally I need a new one, well not a new one but a better one, because this one's quite corroded. It's all structurally sound, but see, it's just not in good condition. So for now I'm just going to have to treat it, do any work it needs doing to it, and to look out for another one to sort of build up a new rear end to put in this car, because I think no matter how much work I put into this, without changing every bush, nut, bolt, getting all sandblasted proper and galvanised, anything less than that isn't worth it on this. It's just it's seen too much salt. So not ideal, but that's not going to stop me tidying up for now and just preserving it, at least for all the time being, until I can get another setup. So yeah, next up you'll probably see me struggling to put this thing back in. Joys, but that's going to be a little while away now, because I've got to do all the work on the car and the subframe. But for you guys that'll be a couple seconds. So that's the rear subframe. I think now ready to go back up. As you can see, looks a touch different to how it was before, and that's ideally going to be lifted up in the air onto this drum, I'm hoping, and then the drum will hopefully be in position for me to lower the car down onto the subframe. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I have no idea yet if that's going to work, but I didn't do the best job taking it out, so I'm hoping this is going to be a better way of putting it back in, and would have probably been a better way of taking it out, to be fair, as well. So obviously what I'm going to do is jump it on here and then lower the car down connect the bits back up, clip and tie this all back into place, and then lower it down onto the bolts and secure it in, hoping that I've forgot nothing. As you can see, the car looks pretty different to how it was before. That's all obviously in separate videos. Rather a lot of work, but worth doing. Okay, so not the most fun job by yourself, but possible. Was I doing it? If I was doing it again, I'd be a bit smarter and actually look at the subframe and go, well, that mounts level there. That one sits down there, and actually put this on the barrel level. It didn't make a big difference, but I did have to jack up the front in order to line it up a bit better. Oh, so that's bolted back up, shocks back up. I'll put the torque specs now in a minute if they exist in the video now. So that's for the rest of them, really. Yeah, that's about it for the rear subframe. Obviously, I haven't covered doing any specific work on the subframe, just sort of removal and reinstallation again-ish. Remember, when you reconnect all your plugs, to connect all the right ones, put them back in the box here, tie them back up, make sure they're clipped in place. Remember, with your airlines, to not lose the little olive behind there, and screw them back in. Now, it's not a bad shout to reassemble it all, air up the system, put pressure on it, and check you've got no leaks before you put the arch liner back in. If you want to, yeah, you don't mind doing that, it's a pretty safe bet, really. If not, just hope for the best. So yeah, I think that's mostly covered. Not the nicest job, but it is completely possible DIY. Again, you could do it in your driveway. I know people have done it in my driveway, but I'd rather not. I'm having a workshop with some tools at least is better than nothing. But yeah, I'm now going to reconnect these little bits and bobs. Obviously, you just put them back exactly as they come apart. Make sure everything's sort of tied out the way and safe and secure. Loads of new parts everywhere. And yeah, jobbed. I don't want to be doing that again. Can't remember what the last video I recorded is, but here it is, back in all its glory. So one L322 subframe, all reinstalled, all rust treated, and hopefully going to be quite tidy and reliable for the ongoing, at least. So yeah, I don't think there's any real special things I need to mention. Essentially, you should have put it back the way you took it off. I'll quickly display the torque settings now for these bolts. Ideally not nugger duggers. But yeah, basically, installation is the reverse of removal, really. Just make sure you're careful when you connect your brake lines and that you don't lose or damage the ends. Wiring obviously click back as was, and then be careful just to tie everything back neatly so nothing's going to chafe, and it's all going to work. Well, I hope that's not been too much of a mix match video. I didn't set out to actually record this video. It was meant to be a different format, part of different other works, but I thought I'll try and make use of the content I've got and record a bit more on top, just in case it's going to help someone. I don't think there's actually any videos out there on how to remove the rear subframe, so I hope I didn't miss any parts, but it is a relatively simple operation, but it's quite involved in terms of disconnecting obviously all your brake lines, your air lines, all your wiring. You've got to be very careful with disassembly and reassembly, and most of all, it's really big and heavy, really heavy in one piece. So I wouldn't attempt it unless you've got the equipment to manoeuvre it up and down. I could have done it better ways. It's my first time doing it. Now I've learned from it, I could do it a few better ways possibly. And I know people have done it on my driveway, so it is possible by yourself on your drive. Just be aware of what you're doing before you do it. Because once you've taken it off, it's off. But yeah, I'm hoping that wasn't too confusing. If you did happen to like the video, then why not drop the actual video a like? It helps with the whole YouTube algorithm and really helps grow the channel, so I'm really thankful for that. Drop me a comment, tell me if you think I could have done anything better, differently, if you've done it a different way, or if I'm being an idiot. It's really helpful. Obviously subscribe for plenty more, there is loads more. But so this is one of 5 videos currently being recorded. There's videos now on the brake caliper refurbishment, bleeding the brakes, a huge amount of rust treatment, as you've seen. The car looks completely different now as to what it did at the start of the video after an extensive amount of work. So there's videos on that and a couple of products I've used. And just so much more on this vehicle and previous L322s I've owned. So yeah, if you like the L322 content, why not subscribe to the channel? Have a look back at the other content. Stick around for plenty more to come. And with any luck, I'll see you guys again next time. I've been Jordan. Cheers.